the song, never gonna do the same for you.
What's up, guys? It's Donna here.
And Holly.
And you're listening to Teaser Talk.
On switch, turn the song, never gonna do the same. You hit the on switch, turn the song, never gonna do the same for you. With these power lights.
Happy Halloween, Teaser Talk listeners. It's Holly here for a special Holliday, if you know what I mean. As if 2020 wasn't scary enough, I'm here to celebrate my favorite holiday with you. So I've created a list of 25 Halloween songs and some fun facts about them. But before I get into it, I just want to kind of kick this off with some fun facts about Halloween. So here we go. First off is because the movie Halloween, which was, the 1978 thriller, was on such a tight budget, they had to use the cheapest mask that they could find for the character Michael Myers, which turned out to be a William Shatner Star Trek mask. Shatner had initially didn't know the mask was in his likeness, but found out years later and said he was honored. Next up is the first jack-o'-lanterns were actually made from turnips, which is very interesting. I'm going to have to Google some of that because just trying to figure out how all that would go down. Next is not really such a surprise, but maybe it's Halloween is actually the highest grossing commercial holiday after Christmas, which is a little surprising because I would kind of think like Valentine's Day is, just because I think of all the expensive gifts involved. However, I guess it makes sense because of the massive demographic that Halloween covers: kids, adults, teenagers, elderly people, that's a holiday kind of celebrated by everyone versus, Valentine's Day is just for couples or so on and so forth. So I guess it makes sense. Next is, according to the Irish legend, jack-o'-lanterns were named after a stingy man named Jack, who, because he tricked the devil several times, was forbidden entrance into both heaven and hell. He was condemned to wander earth, waving his lantern around to lead people away from their paths. So that's kind of creepy. Next is, according to tradition, if a person wears his or her clothes inside out and then walks backwards on Halloween, he or she will see a witch at midnight. Which, you know what? I'm pretty sure I've heard of that one when I was a kid, now that I think about it. So yeah, you guys make sure you turn your shirts inside out if you guys want to catch yourself a little witch peep tonight. Next, we have our little last tidbit, and it's going to be about trick-or-treating. So trick-or-treating is evolved from the ancient Celtic tradition of putting out treats and food to placate spirits who roam the streets during Samhain. So that's going to be a sacred festival that marked the end of the Celtic calendar year. Now, dressing up as ghouls and other spooks originated from the same tradition. The townspeople would actually disguise themselves as demons and spirits. They believed that disguising themselves, they would be allowed to escape the notice of real spirits wandering the streets during this festival celebration. So I'm pretty sure the little demons that they made themselves look like probably didn't fool anyone. Okay, so now let's start on our Halloween songs. These are not in any particular order. They're all spooky, fun songs that will hopefully get you into the Halloween spirit. So let's kick off our first song, which is Love Potion Number 9 by the Clovers. So Love Potion Number 9 was written by Jerry Lieber and Mike Stroller. It was originally performed, like I just said, by the Clovers, who took it to number 23 on the U.S. charts as well as R&B charts that year. The song was recorded, though, by the Searchers in 1964. So 5 years later, the Searchers had re-recorded it, and their version reached number 3 on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100 and number 2 on the Cash Box during the winter of 1965. So a little fun fact about the Clovers, they were actually one of the few R&B groups at this time of period to cross over into the rock and roll industry genre, whatever you want to call it. They started in 1946 as a trio from Armstrong High School, Washington, and underwent many personal challenges throughout the next 4 years. Initially recorded for Rainbow in 1950, but changed to Atlantic in 1951, where they stayed for 7 years and became known for stirring their live performances. This was their last hit. Another little fun fact about this song is the original song included an alternative final lyric. The album version had it. It said, "I had so much fun. I'm going back again. I wonder what happens with Love Potion number 10." So I'm kind of curious as to why they cut that one out. But maybe someone will create a Love Potion number 10. You never know. Okay, next is going to be Spooky, Scary Skeletons by Andrew Gold. And this song is just so catchy, and not like you would want it to be catchy. It's just one of those songs I feel like just gets stuck in your head. So in 2010, the song was uploaded to YouTube by 3 Ply Chord. As of March 24th, 2019, it has been seen over 27 million times. An extended dance mix of the song has had over 84 million views. Thanks to the numerous YouTube videos and various remixes, the song has become increasingly popular, with the band Red Hot Chili Peppers even doing a version of it live on a Halloween performance. Forbes listed Spooky, Scary Skeletons 4th in their top 20 list of Halloween songs. Next up we have is the very popular Monster Mash by Bobby Boris Pickett. The lyrics are based off of the story Frankenstein, as you guys I'm sure already assumed. And a little bit about that is actually a 1818 novel by Mary Shelley and involved in numerous films and adaptations. So in the story, as we all know, Dr. Frankenstein creates a creature who comes to life, but he created a monster. The book is a somber tale of regret, unexpected consequences, but the story is often played into comedy. So in this song, the monster throws a big dance party, which enthusiastically is attended by other creatures such as Dracula and Wolfman. The dance is based on the mashed potato dance craze, which is where the mash has come into the title. So the original title was called The Monster Twist, in an attempt to jump on the twist craze. However, the fad was fading, so they tried calling it Monster Mashed Potato, then just settled for Monster Mash, which I'm glad they did because it's kind of weird. Next, and I'm trying not to, like I said, I try not to have favorites, but this one might be one of my top favorites on this playlist. And I'm sure it's going to be some of you guys' too. So it's going to be Living Dead Girl by Rob Zombie. Before the 1998 release of the song on Hellbilly Deluxe, there existed a 1982 French horror film. The movie details a toxic waste spillage that inadvertently brings the dead back to life. Living Dead Girl was the second single released from Rob Zombie's debut of the solo album, following the fun monster anthem, Dracula. Okay, so next up we have The Devil Went Down to Georgia. So this was sung by Charlie Daniels Band, and the idea of the song came from the poem he read in high school called The Mountain Whippoorwill by Stephen Vincent Bennett. Daniels said, "We had gone in and rehearsed, written, and recorded the music for our Million Mile Reflections album when all of a sudden we said, we do not have a fiddle song. I didn't know why we didn't discover it, but we went out and took a couple of days break from the recording studio. Went in to a rehearsal studio and I just had the idea, The Devil Went Down to Georgia." The version that we have is actually the cover that Korn and Yellow Wolf have recently dropped. So definitely a nice cover that they did there. Next up is Hell's Bells by AC/DC. So AC/DC recorded this a few months after their lead singer Bon Scott had died of acute alcohol poisoning after a night of heavy drinking. The album is a tribute to him and features his replacement Brian Johnson on vocals. This is the first track on Back in Black, AC/DC's biggest album, in tribute to Bon Scott, and it starts off with a bell tolling 4 times before the guitar riff comes in. The bell rings another 9 times, gradually fading out. When played live, Brian Johnson would come out and strike the bell. The term Hell's Bells is an exclamation, of course, as we know, is surprise, although the context in this song is used to conjure up the images of the underworld and feeling like raising hell, something Bon Scott was known for. Next song we have is Creep by Radiohead. York says that this is a song about being in love with someone but not feeling good enough. So we all know how that feels. He describes the feeling as there's beautiful people in the world and then there's the rest of us. York wrote this in 1987 while he was a student in university in England. He first recorded it as an acoustic. This was written before the band was formed. York gave his demo version to Colin Greenwood, who joined him and helped him put a band together. Next up is Zombie by the Cranberries. So this was inspired by the IRA bombing in Warrington, Cheshire, England on March 20th, 1993. 2 children, Jonathan Bell and Tim Perry, were killed. The IRA, which stands for Irish Republican Army, is a military group that is determined to remove British troops from the Northern Ireland. Lead singer Dolores claimed that Zombie speaks out about the fight Irish have for independence that seems to be lasting forever. The lyrics even say it's the same old theme since 1916. The Cranberries claim that they wrote Zombie to be a song for peace among England and Ireland. This song takes the position, obviously stating that it's killing young children is tragic. But venturing into the political fray, it did create some great deal of controversy, which didn't come to a surprise. However, the lead singer was taken aback about the success of the song. She didn't know that it was going to be that successful. Next up is I Put a Spell on You by Screamin' Jay Hawkins. Hawkins wrote this ballad lamenting the loss of a girlfriend he wanted back. Yeah, well, we can totally see that. The original version was a lot slower and much more tame. Hawkins was recording for Grand Records at the time and had a hard time convincing them to release this song. A year later, Hawkins had recorded a version that became famous for another label and transformed the song into a spooky tale about putting a curse on a girl so he could have her. Hawkins performed the ghoulish version for the first time at a Christmas concert staged by Cleveland DJ Alan Freed in 1956. He gave a huge reaction for the song, and Freed invited him to perform it on his TV special. Hawkins developed a bizarre stage show around this. He would come out in a flaming coffin and a weird skull on a stick that he named Henry. The producers wanted a weird-sounding record, so they gave the musicians lots of food and liquor and created a party atmosphere for the session. The version with various grunts and groans was banned by most radio stations. An edited version became a hit with teenagers who liked the forbidden sound. Next up, we have a song that I feel like we all listen to on Halloween, and that's Thriller by Michael Jackson. So this video won Best Performance Video, Best Choreography, and Viewer's Choice at the very first MTV Music Awards in 1984. Thriller is by far the best-selling album in the world. In the United States, it was overtaken by the Eagles, their greatest hits, 1971 through 1975. However, it has reclaimed the title since Jackson's death. So a fun fact about this music video is Jackson, who is a Jehovah's Witness at the time, insisted on a disclaimer at the very beginning of the video reading. Due to my strong personal convictions, I wish to stress that this film is no way to endorse the belief in the occult. He asked for this disclaimer after taking criticism from witness leaders who objected to the zombies and other creatures that violated their beliefs. So next up is a theme song from the Addams Family. So that's going to be a song by Vic Measy. And it's so crazy to think that this theme song was almost not used in the 1991 film of the Addams Family. Vic Measy, who composed the song and directed the main title, was astonished to hear that Paramount had no interest in using this finger-snapping diddly in the 1991 film The Addams Family. Producers actually felt that his melody was too dated for the time and wouldn't fit the dark comedy that they had in mind. They were going for a darker direction with a campy television story and wanted to give a theme that fit the vision. Next up is a song, I'm not sure if you would exactly say it's a Halloween song, but I just like it because it has the word vampire and I like Falling Reverse. So we've got I'm Not a Vampire by Falling Reverse. The songs for The Drug in Me Is You were all written by Radke during his imprisonment. So as we all know, Radke is the lead singer of Falling Reverse. He told Las Vegas Weekly, "I would think all day for days and days about what people would want to hear. I would dissect my old album and read all the fan letters and the reasons why they loved my band and why they listened to it. And I wrote about that, but in different ways. I didn't know why these kids love tragedies, but that's what I write about. I guess they can relate to it." Next up, we have Halloween by the Misfits. Halloween is a fifth single by the horror punk band The Misfits. It was released on October 31st in 1981 on the label Plan 9 Records. 5,000 copies of the single were pressed on black 7-inch vinyl, some of which included the lyric sheet. This was the first Misfits release to use their famous Monsters of Filmland-inspired logo, as well as the first time to refer to the band simply by the Misfits. Also, AFI, you guys, I'm sure have heard, recorded this in 1999. Okay, so next group of songs that we're going to be talking about is from the 1993 film The Nightmare Before Christmas. And just to clarify, you guys, Tim Burton has confirmed that The Nightmare Before Christmas is indeed a Halloween movie and not a Christmas movie. I know that there's a big debate always ongoing about it. And fun fact, it's actually one of my favorites growing up and still is one of them today. My Christmas tree is a Jack Skellington Christmas tree. And yeah, I just have a big passion for it. So that's why I included a lot of these songs. So the songs on this playlist are actually not the originals from the movie soundtrack, but it's going to be from the cover of 2008's The Nightmare Revisited. Just because you guys will see why, because some amazing artists covered them. So first, let's talk about This Is Halloween. This Is Halloween is a song with music and lyrics by Danny Elfman. In the movie, it's performed by the residents of Halloween Town, and it kind of sets the town's tone, if you will, or introduces the town's Halloween-centered lifestyle. This Is Halloween was covered by Marilyn Manson in 2006 for a special edition release of the film's soundtrack, and subsequently introduced on the 2008 cover album, The Nightmare Revisited. The song was also covered by Panic at the Disco in 2006 for the soundtrack reissue. Jack's Lament. So it is sung by Jack Skellington, who is tired of celebrating Halloween and wants to experience something else. The All-American Rejects covered this song on the Nightmare Revisited album. Kidnap the Sandy Claus is a song that is sung by Lock, Shock, and Barrel in the movie when they plan to capture Santa so that Jack could take over, which we only know brings a disastrous result. So Korn had actually covered this song on the Revisited album. Sally's song is sung by Sally Finkelstein when she sings in the film after Jack leaves to do Christmas when her plan to stop him fails. During her song, she sings about how she hopes that Jack is safe, yet she feels like Jack will never accept her feelings for him. Evanescence did an amazing job covering this song on the Revisited album. Poor Jack is our last song that we're going to have on this list from the film, The Nightmare Before Christmas. It is sung by Jack after he survives the explosion, about his guilt of the mess he made and chooses to stay as the Pumpkin King. The Plain White T's cover the song in The Nightmare Revisited. Next up on our list is Pet Sematary by the Ramones. Dee Dee Ramone and producer Daniel Ray wrote this song for the 1989 Stephen King movie Pet Sematary, which is based on the book that he published in 1983. Another Ramones song, Sheena is a Punk Rocker, also appears in the film. The Ramones never had a major impact on MTV, but their video for this song got some airtime on the network. And a little tad bit about Stephen King is I personally just recently finished his On Writing book that he had wrote. And if you guys are a Stephen King fan and you have not read the book or listened to it on Audible, do yourself a favor and buy the book or download it because it is amazing. It's crazy to hear his stories about how he was fascinated and wrote, horror stuff back in middle school, and all of his teachers told him he was going to be amounting to nothing if he kept on that path. But what's crazy is like a lot of his books, especially, hits like Cujo, he does not even remember writing it. Like he'd be blacked out from drugs and alcohol, and it's just a crazy story how it became sober. But definitely you guys take a listen or a read at that book because it's super fascinating if you are an avid Stephen King fan like I am. Next up, we have the theme of one of my favorite TV series as a child, and that's the theme from Tales from the Crypt. So it's also known as HBO's Tales from the Crypt. It's an American horror anthology TV series that ran from June 10th of 1989 to July 19th, 1996 on premium cable channel HBO for 7 seasons with a total of 93 episodes. The title is based on the 1950s EC comic series from the same name, and most of the content originated from the comic or other EC comics at the time. The TV show was produced by HBO, and since it was produced by them, a premium television channel, it was one of the few series that was allowed to have full freedom from censorship from the network standards and practices. As a result, the series was allowed to have content that did not appear in most television series at the time, such as graphic violence, profanity, nudity, things like that. The series is subsequently edited for such content when broadcast syndication or when it was put back on basic cable. While the series began production in the United States, the final season filming moved to the United Kingdom, resulting in the episodes evolved much more around British characters. Okay, next up is going to be the Beetlejuice theme song. So Beetlejuice is a 1988 American fantasy comedy film directed by Tim Burton, and the plot revolves around recent deceased couple who become ghosts haunting their former home. The film also stars an obnoxious, devious poltergeist named Beetlejuice from the netherworld who tries to scare away the new inhabitants. Due to the film's financial success, a Beetlejuice animated television series was created for ABC. The series ran for 4 seasons, and the final season aired on Fox, lasting from September 9, 1989 to December 6, 1991. Burton served as executive producer of the TV series. Next up is Ghostbusters. So this is a theme song for the movie Ghostbusters. The film director, Ivan Reitman, insisted that the title of the film be in the song, which made Ray Parker Jr. leery of the assignment. Once he started working on it, Parker wrote it in just a few days. Parker had to get pretty creative when it came to this because writing a song with the word Ghostbusters in it can be quite challenging, as you can imagine. In an interview, Parker had said that it sounds easy now because you've heard the song, but if somebody told you to write a song with the word Ghostbusters in it, it's pretty difficult. That was the hard part, getting the title into the song. Parker had added that he got his girlfriend and her friends to shout out the title for the chorus because he did not want to sing it. Fall Out Boy and Missy Elliott did an awesome job coming together to rework the famous theme for the 2016 Ghostbusters movie reboot. Their version was titled Ghostbusters, I'm Not Afraid, which is the version on our playlist. Our next song up is the Halloween motion picture soundtrack. The soundtrack album is composed and performed by John Carpenter for the 1978 film Halloween. While the original Halloween movie is one of the most recognizable and iconic horror movies ever written, as I mentioned in the beginning of this podcast episode, it is one of the cheapest. Carpenter's 1978 film was, as you guys know, about a mass butcher stalking babysitters on Halloween night. But the movie itself only had a budget of around $300,000, which meant there was no money for an orchestra or a big-name film composer. So Carpenter, who learned music as a kid and played in a band since college, he booked a synthesizer studio in LA and plunked down for some simple tune. I had only 3 days to do the music for Halloween, Carpenter says. I recorded 5 or 6 themes, and this wasn't scoring to the picture. This was just scoring blind, and then I would cut the themes into a different movie. I had to guess at various moods. What surprised me is they actually fit pretty well into the movie. It's cheap, but an effective way of scoring. Okay, so let's end our list with It Is the End by Einstein Kills. This song features J.R. Vasquez and Buddy Schaub from Less Than Jake. It comes from the band's horror movie-inspired album, The Silver Scream. And as all of you guys can assume, this song was inspired by the Stephen King film, It. Well, that is it for you all. I hope you learned something new, and now I'm going to invite you to hop over to playlist.teasertalk.com to listen to all of these tracks. This is my hand-picked playlist that I update regularly from time to time with fresh tunes, as well as some throwbacks, just depending on my vibe. So if you're listening to this post Halloween Day 2020, there's a good chance that there's going to be a different song up on the playlist. Anyways, you guys, happy Halloween, and until next time, keep rocking. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Teaser Talk.
We look forward to seeing you next Teaser Talk Tuesday. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it.
Make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Teaser Talk. This way we can keep up with you guys until the next episode.